guys won't have to worry about the screen door. I'll get it. Police department, start flying! Police department, start flying! Go, go, go! Police down here! With you?
I couldn't resist, so I decided to do it. Adelaide Feelies was a serial killer who emerged in Turkey in recent years. He had taken the lives of 3 people within 3 years without getting caught. Adelaide was actually a clever kid, but he had experienced something terrible in his life that had led him to this point. Adelaide Feelies was born on June 2, 1986, in Bandırma, Balıkesir, Turkey. He was a bright child. When he won a scholarship to Galatasaray High School, he moved to Istanbul for his high school education. Adelaide was a successful student during his high school years, and he finished school with good grades. His friends considered him a bit peculiar, but he was resourceful and knew how to survive in difficult situations, even without food. Years later, his talents allowed him to escape capture due to the crimes he committed. Adelaide had a strong interest in Russian classics and loved reading books. After graduating from high school, he took the university entrance exam with the intention of studying abroad. He intentionally answered some questions incorrectly to make sure he didn't get into a Turkish university. In 2006, he managed to pursue his dream of studying biology in Paris, France. However, his academic success waned in Paris because he rarely attended classes. In 2008, he met Tolga Saragil, who was on an exchange program in Paris. After Tolga and his friend Elena came to Paris through the Erasmus program, they all started living together at the same time. Adelaide was living with his childhood friend Göktuğ during this time. A relationship developed between Göktuğ and Elena, and Adelaide decided to return to Turkey without completing his education. He told his family that he had graduated and was planning to pursue a PhD at METU. Adelaide had been trying to propose to his girlfriend, Olga, whom he had introduced to his family. However, in 2011, she rejected his proposal, which deeply saddened him. Later, while he was in the military service, Olga informed him that she had decided to break up with him. According to what he told his friends, there were cultural differences between them. She had told her friend that Adelaide had become obsessed with her and that she wanted to break up. However, they couldn't separate for months. She was also afraid of her ex-boyfriend. Olga's computer was hacked by a Russian hacker, but they couldn't find any significant information. Photos suggested that Adelaide and Olga had been engaged in 2010, so they believed that the girl wasn't missing, but had been killed by Adelaide. The girl's family was worried about her, but she had disappeared. Adelaide left for Russia after leaving the military service. He went to Russia to speak with Olga and try to make amends. Olga was working as a babysitter for a Russian family in Paris. She had told the family that she would meet someone and be back before it got too late. It is assumed that she had a rendezvous with Adelaide that day. After this incident, Adelaide went back to Turkey and used the name Furkan Altan. In Istanbul, he tried to find work and rented a room, but he also displayed odd behaviors. Eventually, he managed to get a job as a waiter in a tea garden in Tuzla after learning about a vacancy. The tea garden was operated by the husband of a history teacher, Fatma Kayık. Adelaide managed to get the job by portraying himself as a needy individual from the village with no money, but in fact, he was fully equipped to survive in the wild. Thanks to his skills, he lived a life of deception gaining sympathy from his employer. He didn't interact normally with customers. He was an odd presence. After the tea garden closed, he started working in a kebab restaurant and created another fictional backstory. He claimed to be from a village, had no money, and needed a job. He again gained sympathy from his employer. He continued to work in the restaurant, acting strange but avoiding normal conversations with people. He received not only his salary, but also extra money from the restaurant owner. Because he pitied him during this time, Adelaide began to suspect that Fatma Kayak, who lived in the same apartment building, might have discovered his real identity. He considered the possibility that she might have learned the truth and reported him to the police. So he began to search for ways to silence her. One day, while Fatma was leaving her apartment to pick up her child from school, Adelaide went to her place and took her life with a knife. He then put her lifeless body into a suitcase, carried it to a green area about 500 meters from her home, dismembered the body, and left the pieces. After disposing of the body, he threw the suitcase into a trash bin. The police discovered the unfortunate woman shortly after, but she had been disfigured beyond recognition. Following the murder of Fatma Kayak, Adelaide left Istanbul. Changing his clothes and taking his belongings, he traveled to the bus station and to Adapazari. He stayed in Adapazari for a day, and then moved to Izmir. He tried to lay low and hide from the police. While attempting to remain hidden from the authorities, Adelaide was still relatively open, even boarding a minibus. Eventually, someone recognized him, and he realized that he had been recognized. He got off the minibus when he realized the person knew him, and he quickly boarded another minibus heading in the opposite direction. However, the person who recognized him informed the police, and the chase began. He couldn't escape for long. On the same day, Adelaide Feelies was apprehended by the police. When arrested, he was found to be carrying the knives, fake identities, 16 bank cards, 8 lollipops, a list of porn actresses, and a substantial amount of money in addition. He had other items in his bag that had helped him survive in the wilderness after his capture. It was revealed that he had rented a warehouse in Hadimki, Istanbul. After Adelaide Feelies was captured, he underwent interrogations. During questioning, he openly admitted everything without any remorse. He was found to be sane, and he was subsequently arrested and sent to prison. He is currently serving his sentence in prison. The question of whether Adelaide Feelies is truly a serial killer or not remains a subject of debate, as his actions and patterns deviate from the classical definition of a serial killer in some ways. Nonetheless, he was widely portrayed as a serial killer in the media, sparking significant attention and discussion. In my opinion, he isn't a genuine serial killer. Yes, he has a completely different psychological and emotional profile. While it's certain that he doesn't fit the classic definition and method of processing events that we know about serial killers, he was labeled as one in the literature. The fact that such a person existed in Turkey gained significant media attention. I remember that period very well. It was all over the news. People were surprised to discover that we had someone like this in our country, in the United States and Russia. For instance, they were accustomed to hearing about such cases, and, strangely, some people seemed pleased that we finally had our own serial killer. I remember that during that time, whether they would have been as happy had they encountered him in person is a different question. So this is the question that needs to be asked here. We've come to the end of this video. See you with another question soon. Take care.